Hello, Athens. This is Nan Michael, co-producer of Athens Kaleidoscope. Thank you.
You're welcome.
With my co-producer, who is a little less impaired, word-finding wise than I am, Jane Penwell. And speaking of old people, I got another old person joke.
Oh, okay.
But see, I can tell them, but Jane can't. She's just a spring chicken, and
Just a whippersnapper.
it's really kind of aggravating for someone young to tell an old person joke to me. Now, I was thinking about this today, and I was thinking about the N word, and I was wondering, some people say that black people shouldn't use the N word, and I wonder if that means that old people shouldn't use the O word.
Well, what would you say if you didn't say old?
Huh?
What would you say if you didn't say old? You could say age impaired.
No, I mean the topic of jokes about.
Oh.
If it's okay for an old person like me, 79 years old, to tell old person jokes.
Yeah, I think it is.
And or whether it's okay for black people to use the N word or not. What do you think?
I think it's up to them. If I mean, it's a word. It's in the vocabulary. If they feel it's appropriate, go. By all means, go right ahead.
There's a lot of things that are words that I wouldn't use.
Well, I don't really feel that way. I think that words are to be used, and if they're especially foul, maybe not. But I don't know. I don't have that. I don't have a feeling like that. You know,
okay.
That there's anything, you could say anything as far as I'm concerned.
But your position on old people jokes is that some of them are funny?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's a funny joke, tell it to me. I don't care what it's about. I'll
okay.
laugh.
Well, I got something in the email called forward senior texting.
Mm-hmm.
ATD at the doctor's, BFF, best friend's funeral, BTW, bring the wheelchair, BYOT, bring your own teeth, DWI, driving while incontinent,
Oh, dear.
FWIW, forgot where I was. Let's see. HGBM, had good bowel movement.
Everybody wants to know that.
LOL, living on Lipitor. TOT, texting on toilet. WAITT, who am I talking to?
I get a lot of that kind of stuff, and I read it. If I think it's funny, I send it on.
Well, you know, you've had to watch, if you've been watching Kaleidoscope for a longer period between shows than usual, because I kept putting Jane off. First it was Tuesday, and I said, I just can't do it. Wednesday, no, then my computer went clunk, and she didn't hear anything from me. And then I thought it was Friday, and it was too late, and somebody said it was Thursday, and I was so happy it was only Thursday. So here we are on Friday.
Finally on Friday, here we are.
Now, what did incapacitate this old lady? I wrote something for my poetry group about my incapacitation for 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's called Still Learning. 4 lessons in 3 days is a lot. First, don't give the cat more than half of the bed. Need I say more? Next, never assume the car in the left lane is the one in the rear view mirror. Oh my.
Oh dear.
Third, when leaving recycles at the fairgrounds, beware metal loading planks stretched across the thoroughfare. But the one that earned me cum laude took only 3 hours to learn. Never seat yourself sideways in the tub.
Sounds like you had a busy time there.
3 hours, yes.
3 hours. Is that when you said you fell asleep in the tub?
No. I was getting out. I did the split. I fell back toward the wall. I slid down and was pinned in.
Ooh.
And I was wondering, do I really want 3 firemen to walk in and find me like this? And I kept trying to remember which way things bent to try it. And finally, I put a piece of soap, but shoved it down against my knee, and it slid down. But, whew,
I guess. Well, so do you have grab bars? Grab bars that you in your?
I have all kinds of things. I've got a seat, I've got bath mat, but oh no, this was my 3 days for learning. So I learned my lesson, I'll tell you that.
My great Aunt Helen, my grandmother's sister, she lived by herself, and she was older than you are, probably 85. And she was one of these people that kept every door and window locked, had her storm windows down, even in the summertime. And my grandmother used to say, I don't know who she thinks wants to get in there with her. and one day in the summertime, she went in her bathroom to take a bath, and the door blew shut and locked. So she's locked in her bathroom. She's in there. I don't know if she had any clothes or not. She might have had a house coat, Well, I don't know what she had as far as that goes. So she decided, well, I'll go ahead and take my bath, and then I'll worry about it. So she gets out of the bathtub, jiggles the door. She can't get out. She can't get out. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't want, like you, anybody to come in and find her, even in her house coat. That would be a scandal to her, So she doesn't know what to do. So finally she decides it's 2 o'clock now in the afternoon, and she started on this about noon. So finally she got desperate, and she said, I don't care who sees me in my house coat. So the mailman comes, and she yells and bangs on the storm window. Now mind you, the storm window, and it's July, hot, And she's not very big, and she wasn't very strong, and he stopped kind of, and then she got really bang, bang, she got something and banged, and he looks up and he saw her and he goes, oh, no. Help me!
Hey, did he get the message?
Eventually,
she could go like this.
Yeah, eventually somehow she got him to know that she was locked in the bathroom.
But the front door was locked.
Not only that, the storm door was locked. So they had to take off the storm door, they had to take off the front door, and then they had to take off the bathroom door.
But the
Get her
mailman
out.
didn't do that.
No, well, he helped. The mailman and her next door neighbor did it, and they finally got her out of there. And she's telling this story to my grandmother. My grandmother goes, "Oh, Helen, you are so lucky. You know, what if nobody, because she lived by herself." And Helen goes, "Huh. Well, you could call that lucky, Callie, if you want to." But 3 men saw me in my house. And I don't like that idea at all. And so from then on, we had all these jokes about seeing somebody in their house coat. So it's really not, I guess, desirable to get yourself in that kind of situation. But at least for you, they wouldn't have to take the doors off, right?
All right. Well, nobody came. I solved the problem with the soap.
I have friends, though, seriously now, to be serious about this, I have friends that always take their phone in the bathroom with them because, they're kind of afraid something like that might happen.
I should have done that. And I have a chair and I have a bath mat, but I was just, that was my weekend for learning.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's a heck of a lesson, isn't it?
There is some kind of emergency thing some people wear on a chain, but I guess there's so many kinds that it's hard to choose.
Help, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cell phone.
It's just as easy to take your phone in the bathroom with you and put it where you can reach it, and then you've got a...
Well, we heard from our viewers today.
Wow. What, all 2 of them?
All 2 of them?
19 of them. Well, thank you so much, 19 people, for watching us. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear it.
You want to know what the message was?
Yeah, what was it?
Oh, you don't know?
Well, tell me.
It was they wanted us to go back to the old opening of Kaleidoscope.
Ah.
So at least they watched an earlier one.
Not only are they viewers, but they're critical. They're critics as well. Hey, everybody has to change. Nothing stays the same, as they say, except death and taxes. So we made a change, but people don't like it, I guess.
Well, if we have a viewership, I'm sure going to kowtow to them. And we're going back to the old beginning.
Well, maybe you could do it every other week. Maybe there's people that like the new one, but they just didn't say anything. Those of you who like the new one, get on our Facebook page and let us know that you like the new one, and we'll see. Just the old people who don't like the new one are the ones who said something, right?
Well, I suspected that maybe one of the writers was Steve Zarate because he got cut off. He was on the old one. But then there's J.D. Jewell who got cut off too. And the cute girl in the beanie got cut off, and something from folk dancing. So I don't know what it was.
Well, everybody, you can't please everybody, no matter what you do. So there you go.
Oh, yeah. We're aiming for that.
Yes,
Athens,
we are.
We are aiming for that.
We're trying our best to be pleasant.
Yes.
And believe me, for me, it's a try.
Now, let me tell you something kind of interesting to me is that I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I talked about a dream reported by Freud, Sigmund Freud, in which he met a man he knew, and the man told him about this dream he'd had, which is he was in the Alps and stepped out into the air, and I don't know if he flew or fell or what, but it wasn't long after that that he heard that the fellow had been in the Alps climbing and did step off. And what that reminded me of is that suicidal pilot had earlier had nightmares of driving the plane into the mountains, his girlfriend reported.
That's right, I heard that. I heard that.
And if his therapist, I don't know if he told his therapist about that or if his therapist had read Freud or not, but that was so grim. And I didn't have CNN on too much the last few days. It didn't take more than seeing that poor boy running and getting shot in the back that I cut it off and I said, no thank you. No thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've never had dreams about anything happening to me, okay? But I have had, I call them feelings. They're not dreams. I guess maybe I could dream them. I don't remember my dreams, but I have them in a waking state, not a dreaming state.
Okay, you're imaging fantasies.
About things, and sometimes they happen.
Ooh.
I'll give you an example. This is my best example. I was watching, during the Gulf War, you know how they were constantly streaming TV, you know, from the Gulf War, and as the soldiers went in and all this kind of stuff, and there were newsmen embedded with the troops. So there was this one guy, this newsman, and he happened to be NBC guy, and I'm not kidding you a bit, and I'm not exaggerating. I usually do exaggerate, but I'm not exaggerating. Every time I saw that guy, when he would get out of the tank, I'd think, get down, you know? Or he'd pop his head up and talk. I'd think, get down. It just drove me crazy. I don't know. I just had this feeling something was going to happen to him, and it did. And it did. I felt so strongly that I almost called NBC and said, you have to get him out of there. Something's going to happen to him.
Did you call somebody?
No, I didn't. They wouldn't have paid any attention to me anyway. But here's the ironic thing. He wasn't shot. It didn't have anything to do with the war. In the flight over there, he got a blood clot in his leg that they didn't know he had, and it traveled to his heart and killed him. But I swear to you, I knew, just as sure as I know I'm sitting here, that something was going to happen to that guy. I didn't know what, but I knew it. And I had such a strong feeling. If he'd have survived that, I would have been amazed, because I had that strong of a feeling. So if I ever have a feeling about you, Nan, I'll let you know.
I don't know if you should or not.
You might not want to hear it.
This was Motormouth. Now, what's the new name for her?
Witch?
No, I'm the...
Yeah. Psychic? I don't know. I'm not psychic. It isn't anything. I don't know what it is, because I couldn't say what it was. You know what I mean? I didn't know a specific thing, a time, what would happen to him. I just had this feeling that he was in danger. Strong feeling that he was in danger.
Well, if you could tell me ahead of time, I'd let you tell me.
Yeah. Oh, well,
so
yeah.
I could do something.
I mean, it was probably, I started having this feeling, and it was a few days later that they reported he had died. I mean, it wasn't afterwards. It was beforehand. But I was shocked to find out. I mean, I really thought he was going to get shot through the head, because every time he popped his head up, I kept thinking, get down, you know. But turned out it wasn't his head at all, so there you go.
Well, you know, my daughters visited me, and it was a good thing they did, because I had my learning experiences.
Were you out of the tub by the time they got there?
Yes, but I was still hobbling around. But anyway, while they were visiting, I encouraged my daughter to be interviewed for Kaleidoscope.
Oh.
And she agreed. And but what she wanted to talk about, and what I wanted her to talk about, was her interesting hobby.
Oh, and what's that?
All right, take it away, Sally. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Nan. Hi, Athens.
Sally is visiting Athens and me, her mother, this weekend, Easter weekend.
Easter weekend, yes.
And
I drove from Atlanta.
From Atlanta.
I live in Atlanta.
Right. all my children are born in Atlanta. And Sallie is a research nurse.
Yes, clinical research nurse.
Okay, and what are you researching?
I do clinical research in transplant.
In transplant.
Transplant.
And you're working at Emory.
Emory University, yes.
Okay. And you've been with Emory a long time.
A long time, almost 25 years.
Oh, wow. All right. And you have two wonderful cats.
I do.
And you have a very interesting and unusual hobby, which
I'm
some
glad you
people
think
might
so.
laugh at, but you really enjoy it, and it really gets you around the country, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. How
It
did
does.
you start your hobby?
Well, do you want me to say what it is first?
Okay.
Okay. So my hobby is lawn ornaments. I take pictures of lawn ornaments all over the country. And I love lawn ornaments, and this is to differentiate from lawn art, which is often purchased at art fairs and is very artsy. But I love lawn ornaments, just what people put in their yards to show the world a little bit of self-expression and be creative in their yard for the public to see.
And what did you say about lawn art?
Lawn art, there's some people go to art fairs and they'll buy like lawn sculptures, which are a little hoity-toity, which they're beautiful, but to me they're different than lawn ornaments, which are a little more of the people. Not necessarily, some people don't consider it art, but I consider it art.
Okay, so lawn ornaments are kind of like almost the pink peacocks.
The pink peacocks, the dwarves, the little bunnies, the little turtles,
Ducks.
geese, and I have a theory when it comes to lawn ornaments that different parts of the country exhibit different types of lawn ornaments. That's been my theory for a long time. So I live in the South now. I used to live in Athens and Gallipolis in the Midwest. And I noticed about 10 years ago that the lawn ornaments in the Midwest are different than the lawn ornaments in the South, for the most part. You can't really totally generalize, but as a rule, you'll see different lawn ornaments in the Midwest.
And you don't think that's just due to different companies?
I don't. So that was my hypothesis. So I sort of tested it in different areas of the country. So when I go to different parts of the country, I'll take pictures of lawn ornaments. And found great variation in certain things, and certain things are the same wherever you go. For example, swans are ubiquitous. They're everywhere that I've found. One example, so in the Midwest is really the only place I've found where people dress up the geese.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't dress the geese
We don't
down
dress
there?
up geese in the South. And I haven't seen dressed up geese in the Southwest, and I just returned from a trip to the Pacific Northwest, a research trip on lawn ornaments, and I didn't see a single dressed up goose.
Huh. Well, you have a blog.
I
You
do have a
started
blog.
a blog.
I started a blog. I have probably several thousand pictures of lawn ornaments, and decided it was probably pretty selfish of me to keep all this vast volume of research to myself. So I've started, went to Tumblr. I finally learned how to do Tumblr, and I started a blog. It's called Ornamental is Fundamental, and have taken pictures of lawn ornaments in different parts of the country. So for example, whenever I come to Athens, I try to make an effort to go out in Athens County or Hocking County or Meigs County or Gallia County, and I take pictures of lawn ornaments.
Well, you really get emotional about that, don't you?
Sometimes. Sometimes it's like, oh, there's another goose, there's another duck, there's another goose, a swan. You know, swans don't really light my fire anymore, but I find it interesting that they're everywhere. I saw some swans in the Pacific Northwest, and I thought that was noteworthy. You know, that they're everywhere. And so I'm not a PhD in lawn ornamentation, but I think that says something about what speaks to people about swans. Maybe everybody's kind of an ugly duckling and they want to be a swan, and so they put a swan in their front yard. You know, the kind that's a planter. They're everywhere.
Do you have any lawn ornaments?
I do. I have dwarves.
You have what?
Dwarves.
Oh.
Or gnomes, as they may be called. Yeah. I have a lamb, and I have a pelican.
A what?
A pelican. I have a concrete pelican in my yard.
Oh.
One of my neighbors was an elderly woman. She was about 90 and she died, and they put her lawn ornaments on the street.
Oh.
I know. So I rescued the pelican. So a pelican, I just recently acquired about a 3-foot tall garden gnome, and I have a Mickey Mouse and a Minnie Mouse. And I have a lot of, but this is not about me. This is about the art of lawn ornamentation, which I'm just passionate about. And so my mother invited me to come on Access Kaleidoscope to talk about my rather unique hobby. So I'm happy to do so. She did buy me a couple of drinks beforehand in order to acquire this interview. And so I just want to thank Athens and Hocking and Meigs County for all the wonderful lawn ornaments you've given me over the years. And if anyone is interested in finding out more about my hobby, what I'm passionate about, or if you have any spectacular or ordinary lawn ornaments that you would like to share with me, have them on my blog. It's Tumblr. Ornamental is fundamental. And you can contact me through Nan at Access TV. And I'd be happy to get in touch with you. I'd love to come up and visit you on one of my trips up to see my mother. Come to your house and maybe photograph your lawn ornaments.
And many times you've been driving with other people and put on the brakes and, oh my God, I gotta get that.
Yes, my family's pretty well trained that if I like shriek and tell them to stop, they slam on the brakes, pull out of harm's way, pull out of traffic, and let me photograph the lawn ornaments. And this is something else I've learned. If it looks like somebody's home, often I'll go up and I'll knock on the door and I'll talk to the people about, first of all, get permission to take pictures of their lawn ornaments if they don't have any big dogs in the yard. And I like to talk to them about what is it about the lawn ornaments that they share a little piece of themselves with the world. Ask them where they got them. And a lot of times people are just really thrilled. They're saying, oh, no one has ever asked me about my lawn ornaments. So they give me permission. I've never had anybody refuse permission. So I take pictures, and sometimes they're handmade. So it's just a way to get to know them. And
well, we're going to show a few of your photographs, and this is going to be tricky because this is the night before we tape the show.
Yes, I'm leaving early in the morning.
Yeah, so maybe you can just first discuss your trip to Washington and in lumberjack country, what you found.
Okay. So I flew out to the Pacific Northwest about 3 weeks ago, and it was my first research trip to the Pacific Northwest in the area of lawn ornaments. And I landed in Portland. I visited with my stepson. We drove all around Portland, and I didn't see a single lawn ornament, so I was feeling a little defeated. and resigned that maybe they just didn't have lawn ornaments in the Pacific Northwest. So I'd been on an Indian reservation up near the Canadian border in Washington about 3 years ago, and they did have, they're mostly religious lawn ornaments up there. And so I was driving around the Olympic Peninsula, which is, as Nan says, lumberjack country. If you ever see the TV show Axemen, that's where all that happens. And was really delighted and surprised by what I found. Most of the lawn ornaments up there are actually carved out of trees using chainsaws.
Wow.
Yeah, so that sort of validated my hypothesis that different areas of the countries will exhibit different types of lawn ornaments. And so that's an example of that. Up there, they create most of their lawn ornaments out of trees and carving, very skillful carving with axe trees. So I think Nan's going to show a couple of pictures of that. Handmade lawn ornaments, and no swans, no geese up there, but I think you're also, I also like antique lawn ornaments, sort of deer. I really love garden dwarves, garden gnomes, whatever you want to call it. And I've got a couple of shots of antique garden
And you got
gnomes
some, they had some cypress roots they dug up and had them along the highway as...
That's right. So when they cut down the trees up there, I'm not an expert, I just drove by, but when they cut down the trees, they're in a swamp and they pull up the whole root system. And this one shot I think Nana's going to get from me is they pressure wash them, and so they're huge root systems of trees. And they told me they were cypress. They're different than the cypress down in the New Orleans, Louisiana area that have sort of the knees, but they still called them cypress up there. So I don't know the technical phylum, genus, species of them, but so they're pretty elaborate, and they made benches and different types of lawn ornaments. And one I think Nan really likes has the guy's face carved on it. It's like a wizard.
It's kind of folk art.
It is kind of folk art. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of plain people putting out what they like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of them making it.
Yeah, some of them make it, some of them buy it at Walmart, but I love every one of them, and I'll stop and I'll take a picture. So if you ever see me lurking around your yard with a camera, then you'll know who I am and what I'm there for. And please stick your head out the door and say hi. And if I think you're home, I'll definitely knock on the door first.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Let me just mention one more thing, is the monkey puzzle tree.
Oh, okay. That's right. So I think one of the pictures Nan is going to show you in a bit is, again, up in the Pacific Northwest. I was in the Olympic Peninsula, and if you're a Twilight fan, I was in Forks, Washington, which is where the Twilight movies were filmed. And I went up and came down the west coast of the Olympic Peninsula. But one of the places I stopped and I talked to a woman, and she had, so first she had a tree stump that she had put little doors into the tree stump and had little gnomes in front of the doors. I think you've got some shots of that. I thought that was adorable. And I went, there was a tire store just a couple of 100 yards from there. So I went in the tire store and I said, do you know who has the gnomes in the tree? And then she said, oh, I do. So she ran the tire store, she did the gnome tree, and she let me go to her private rock garden where she had antique deer and she had antique garden gnomes, and she had this beautiful, amazing tree. It was almost like a cross between a fir tree and a succulent. So it's called a monkey puzzle tree, and you'll see it that the branches look like monkey tails. And she had collected electric transformers, I think they're called, the glass transformers they used to have up on the telephone poles, and she had decorated her garden with that, and she had some antique deer and some antique garden gnomes, and so she let me take shots of that. I think you wanted to give a shot of the float tree as well.
Yes, the float's the man that's going to start the museum.
Right. So she had this family compound next to her tire store. And I was asking her about, I said, you know, I saw about 3 times in the Pacific Northwest, which is on the coast, Washington coast. So it's very cold. It's the Pacific Ocean is right there. And it was like a telephone pole, and it had a big red ball on the top, and it had all these floats on it that looked like weird white things. And so that's really the reason I went to see her.
Do they look like balloons at all?
They do, yeah. It looks like a big red balloon and little white balloons. And that's the reason I went to see her. I was like, what is that thing? Because it was the 3rd one I had seen up there. I'd never seen one before. And she said, oh, that's floats that they fish out of the Pacific Ocean. So I don't know if, I've never seen it on the Atlantic Ocean, but I don't know if it's specific to the fishing fleet up there or what. But so the people haul them out of the Pacific Ocean and they hoist them up this telephone pole. So it looks like a big stick with things on it, and I think you're going to show a shot of that. So Nana's going to show you a shot of that.
And he's starting a museum.
Yeah. One of her uncles was starting a beachcomber museum. He had just retired, and he had collected so much stuff over the years off the Washington coast that he was going to open a museum. So if you're ever in the Olympic Peninsula, near Forks, look for the Beachcomber Museum and Lawn Ornaments Extraordinaire.
Thank you so much, Sally.
You're welcome, Nan.
Well, that was interesting. When you say garden ornament, I think of those balls, you know, glass ball things. And there's so many more in the world people have created, I guess. So I think you and she should write a book.
Oh, no more books. Hey. No more. I got my first royalty check.
Oh, really?
It's $3.78.
frame it. Don't even cash it. Frame it.
It was direct deposit, so
Oh.
that's too late.
So you can take a picture of the direct deposit on your bank statement and you frame that.
Lord.
But seriously, that would be fun because there's probably all kinds of stories about where she found them and how she found them.
Well, she just showed us
Oh, but
on
that was-
Kaleidoscope, so
Yeah.
people can go to Kaleidoscope again and again and again.
Oh, there you go. But I still think it would make a good book.
Well,
I think now you're a book. Now you're a
I want to do
published
fiction
author.
next time. We were going to be in a fiction group, right? Mm-hmm. I'm free now. I wasn't free before when you suggested we start it up because I was working on my book. But we can start up our fiction group.
You know what my father used to say when somebody'd say, "Oh, I'm free"? He'd say, "Well, I'm not free, but I'm awful cheap and easy."
This
dear.
last weekend when Sally complained about my fantasies about strangers that I shared with her, I said, this guy, I'm pretty sure that he's a druggie and he was this, that, and the other, and he lives up the road now, I think, and, I develop all these things. And she said, that's not true. And I said, well, to be a good fiction writer, you have to have a good imagination.
Well, that's right. You certainly do. I have actually started a book. I would say it's probably not going to be an adult, probably older kids.
And no bibliography. No,
None of that stuff. No.
Bibliography.
It's kind of loosely based on the story of my Welsh grandfather who came to this country. It's kind of loosely based on him.
You think young people are going to be interested in that?
I don't know. I have to try it out on my grandchildren and see what they think. But what got me started was there's a Groupon. You know Groupons, right? Everybody know Groupons?
Well, clue me in. Some of us
Okay.
old people out there may not know.
You may have known and forgotten, so let me tell you. You go to Groupon, GROUPON.com, and they offer you all kinds of deals on anything you can think of. There's travel deals, there's everything you can think of. But to get the deal, you have to buy a Groupon, which is like it would be like a coupon, but it's a Groupon.
Like S&H used to be.
Not really, no.
Not really.
It's that idea because it's giving you a discount on what you want. So anyhow, I bought a Groupon for a writing course. And it was only $5, which is why I bought it because I'm a cheapskate. $5. So I got started on it, and it's really good. I'm impressed with it, actually.
Can I ride on your $5?
Yeah, you probably could. You'd have to come over and use my computer, but I'm sure you could go back and look at the lessons. But the thing is, you can't print them out. You can't. It has to all be on via the internet.
Copyrighted.
I suppose. But anyway, it's the first lesson is so good at telling you what you need, character,
Plots.
all this kind of stuff, that I actually started making notes about what I would put, in chapter 1, chapter 2, who the people are and everything. It just inspired me, I guess you would say. So we'll see. Once I get through with this course, I may have a book on Tommy Williams is his name.
And I'll interview Jane about her new book.
There you go. Well, it is an interesting story because he was born and grew up to the age of 12 in Wales. And when he was 12, his parents told him that he had to go to work because they were, had no money and lots of kids, right? And his father said, well, you'll go in the mine with me. So he did. I mean, he didn't know, so he went. But he couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand it. He couldn't be in that mine. So he ran away from home.
Claustrophobic?
Mm-hmm. So now we know of claustrophobia. So he ran away from home. At the age of 12, he joined the British Navy.
Oh,
Yeah.
They let him in?
Yeah, because he was a cabin boy. In those days, they had cabin boys, and so he wasn't actually a sailor. He brought the food, and cleaned up and all that kind of stuff. So he was in the British Navy from the time he was 12 until he was 17. And he sailed all around the world. He was in China. He was everywhere you could imagine. And he used to tell my father, oh, the Bay of Naples is the only place in the world more beautiful than Swansea.
Where what?
More beautiful than Swansea.
Oh.
Swansea, Wales is on a big, a big bay.
Sure, I know.
Anyway, so my father just laughed. He didn't think, he'd ever been anywhere, really. So then he comes back, he falls in love, he wants to get married. The girl he falls in love with's father had been in the United States working in the steel mills over here and went back to Wales. And he said, if I were a young couple like you, young whippersnappers, I would go over to the United States because I think you could have a much better life there than you could have in Wales. And so they got married. They had one kid still in Wales.
Your father?
No, my father's oldest brother, David.
Oh, okay.
And things got worse and worse.
In the United States?
No, they were
over
still
there.
in Wales.
Okay.
So things got worse and worse. Jobs got harder to find and all this kind of stuff. And so he thought, well, it can't be any worse in the United States, so I'll go ahead and go. So he did. And that's how I happen to be here.
Did he ever see his parents again?
Never.
Oh, how sad.
In those days, I don't know how much money had to do with it. I just don't know. I don't think that my grandmother was the traveling kind.
And they may not have had Pony Express over there.
Well, I don't know. But anyhow, no, they never went back, ever, after they got here. And they had 6 children, and most of them did pretty well. I'm sure as well or better than they would have done had they stayed in Wales,
And he never worked in a mine again?
No, oh no, he worked in a steel mill.
Oh, steel mill, is that better?
Well, it's not underground. Think of it that way. I guess it was better to him, because that's what he did in Wales when he came back, when he got out of the Navy and came back to Wales. Then he went in the Rhondda Valley in Wales is where really steel mills were born, in the Rhondda Valley in Wales. And that's where he went and worked when he came back. So he had skills, to work in a steel mill.
Well, I guess I do want to say thanks, Ben, for the feedback via
Facebook.
And
thanks for being such an avid viewer.
Oh, really appreciate it.
Yes.
Bless your heart. See, my computer's been out for a while, and I haven't been able to visit Facebook. But I heard through the grapevine about your, what do you call it, when you put something? Post. And I'm just tickled to death. And next week we're going to have the old beginning to Kaleidoscope, thanks to you and the other guys and gals on that wonderful blog.
Facebook page.
And don't forget Sallie's blog. Visit her. I think it's a gas. I just think Lawn Ornaments. She's got thousands. And so hi, Sallie, and bye, Sallie. And I wonder how we're doing.
Well, I don't know. I think there's one more thing I want to talk a little bit about, and that is that on my way here today, I drove by the cherry trees.
Oh, really?
To see where the the blossom situation.
Uh-huh.
And I'm no arborist, I'm not a tree expert or anything. But I would say next week, the buds still look pretty tight to me. Some of them show a little bit of white, but not very much. So I would say if we have a nice weekend and there's sun, maybe next week. So I want to tell you that I will be so excited to see them because, you know, we didn't have any last year.
And of course, you're going to videotape them.
I will videotape, much as I don't like videotaping.
All right.
I will videotape the cherry blossoms so that everyone can see them in all their beauty.
And while you're there, parked, I assume, in a parking place.
Well, yes, of course.
I have good news, Athens. I wasn't hallucinating when I thought that I saw tennis shoes hanging in the trees.
No, I'm sure.
At that place. No, I said I was. I thought I saw them, and on the way back I looked and I didn't see them. But now I see them again, and other people see them too. And there's like 3 huge trees across from the stadium, decorated with tennis shoes.
Haven't you ever seen them hanging over a telephone wire?
Yes, of course, but I have not. Have you ever seen a tree decorated like Christmas with tennis shoes? I mean, there's a whole bunch.
Oh, I'll have to look. It'll be cute if there's blossoms and tennis shoes. That will be cute.
Huh. Well, these were great big trees, so I don't know if they're the cherry blossom kind or not. But I'm so excited that I wasn't hallucinating.
There you go.
And I misinformed people when
Some
I told
college
them.
kid climbed up there with his old shoes and hung them in a tree. What? There's something for you to do in college. You know, climb a tree.
But call us first and let us videotape you.
Yeah, right.
Call Jane, because she's going to be there videotaping the cherry trees.
I'll stream you live. How about that? We won't even videotape you. We'll stream you live.
I wonder if it's against the law.
Probably is to climb those trees because they are expensive trees.
Well, I read an article about how busy the city is kept with the men that have to go up and take the shoes down.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Well, they're like on crossroads and, you know.
Yeah.
And people just can't. I assume they're the budget level shoes. They're not those $120 shoes.
You never know.
Surely not. If so, I'm sure that some other people would take them down for them.
I suppose so. Well, next week, maybe we will have the cherry blossoms for people to see. So that's something for you to look forward to. And the old opening for Kaleidoscope. So be sure and watch next week and see what we do.
And Jim Chaney might show up with a requested video. I asked him to get them burying the street workers, one of those huge cement whatever they put underground.
Oh.
Wouldn't you like, I have to see how they picked that up? I mean, you know, some are really big. And so I hope he'll come through so we can show you
well, for those of you who
the
get
city
excited
workers.
by watching city workers bury something, that may be on here next week too. So you never know, Athens, what you're going to see on Kaleidoscope. So thanks for being with us, and have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
So long.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, wait a minute. Jane, we forgot.
What?
We got one more clip of
Oh, the bats in the belfry.
bats at the president of OU's house.
Residents, yes.
Protesting them getting a super duper
Gorgeous house on Coventry.
pooper scooper.
Okay, you're going to see bats in the belfry whether you want to or not. Enjoy.
Thanks to Alex Ross, who grabbed the footage.
Some respect. And I'm super happy that the faculty are doing this. I'm super happy that we're joining a great union. Like Dr. Benson said, we've got over 60% of RAs to assign. We're in the process of doing it. It's going to be great. here at Ohio University, Jessica and Flea. Alright, don't you all think we're being a little too harsh towards the McDavises?
No!
You know, for two people who get paid via our tax dollars and tuition money to have a house that has 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and a swimming pool, doesn't that sound reasonable? No! When I was 15, I had an ant in my room, and I wanted that ant out, and so my parents took it outside, but I was pissed because I wanted my own private jet. But McDavis already has his own private jet, shaped like a heterosexual eagle. It's a palace. But it's not reasonable. It's ridiculous. And we know why it's ridiculous, because bats are not truly vermin. In fact, bats are some of the best vermin killers that nature has provided us. They are pestilous insects. It makes sense then why they targeted the McDavises. In the animal kingdom, which displays reciprocal altruism. This means that if one bat gets food and the other one doesn't, hold on, you gotta turn the pages. Yay! I've got 6 more of these, so be prepared. Him in the wind. Oh yeah, someone hold this for me. Oh, you're a purpose in life, thank you. So, if one bat gets food and the other one doesn't, they give the food to the other ones. And this only isn't done between parents, offspring, siblings, and families. These bats form friendships with strangers in order to exchange food. I submit to you that McDavis has no problem with bats. He has a problem with sharing. I am a student in one of the top 10 journalism programs in this country, but our buildings are all currently under construction. Last year I sat in a class where the ceiling was falling, and you know what our solution was? We put a trash can underneath it. So we, the students, are not important here. Do not walk away from this rally today continuing to believe that the administration has any interest in your education. We are dollar signs. They don't need their money to think critically. What they need is your ignorance and docility. It is in their best interest to keep you quiet, to keep you back and forth between sporting events on Court Street, from fest to fest, from house party to house party. They were going to move into their McMansion before the bats were ever there, and they think we're too stupid to realize that bats are not a $1.2 million problem. $80,000 in student loans. According to the university's policy, I, as a transfer student, had to wait our entire year to be eligible for the school scholarships. The loans we take out today will feed an empire of greed for years to come. We are batteries to be consumed and discarded, refusing to protest and struggle this day. Our future is the fatted calf that the Board of Trustees butcher at their banquets. But the greatest lie that the administration has fed to you is that McDavis rules this university. McDavis is nothing. He is an incumbent who is perfectly content bearing the brunt of our rage as long as he and his wife can live in mansions as scapegoats. God damn it, Ryan. With hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars of disposable income. McDavis and his wife are the mask of a much deeper corruption.
Well, wasn't that exciting?
Oh. Yeah. Well, Athens.
A little action in Athens.
That's right. Well, after this, Athens, if you still are with us, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week on the Boob Tube. Bye.